Howdy, howdy, lads, MVs, and lasses. If you live in the Harris Branch neighborhood in Austin, Texas, my name's Anthony, and I'm your neighbor. This is another monthly update from the Harris Branch Residential HOA homeowners meeting. These meetings happen every third Thursday of the month. You can join them in person once the amenity center is up and running, but for now, you can simply join by using Zoom. Save yourself that money and time. Just join digitally. It's much easier that way. What you see on the screen right now is the meeting agenda. This is always posted to the Town Square website. You can create an account and log in there to download these and look at many of the other items that are referenced in these meetings. I placed the links to most of the pertinent websites and groups in the description of this video, so please be sure to check those out. And if you want to keep up to date with these things, simply subscribe and hit that like button so that way when the next video comes out or anything comes out in regards to items or issues going on in the neighborhood, you can be informed. Number 1, call meeting to order and establish quorum. There were 4 of the 5 members there. I believe Vanessa wasn't present when quorum was called, and with the 4 out of 5 being present, they were able to continue with the meeting. 2, the homeowner forum. Homeowner Forum happens at the beginning of every meeting, except for our community meetings, and this is an opportunity for you as a homeowner to join and ask questions, give praises, complaints, anything that's on your mind regarding the HOA and the neighborhood. Simply bring those to the board during this forum. Number 3, approve the prior meeting minutes. That was completed. Then we moved on to the treasurer's report. Number 4, this is when Jorge, our treasurer, reviews the items on the budget, whether they're in budget, out of budget, and they discuss unplanned expenses or planned ones. A couple items that he had brought up. Number 1 is the pool management, was the lifeguards. I know this is a point of contention because it's a very expensive piece of our HOA, and as well as something that makes it harder for us to have longer pool hours. The pool lifeguard services averages about $20,000 a month when we are using them. We got hit with 2 bills in 1 month. However, for the budget that was budgeted for, we're a total of $40,000. The second item he brought up was our capital improvements. We spent $49,826 on power washing and staining fences. This has been a pet project of Martin Ponzi, the guy who is running the fence committee, and is heavily supported and backed by Gary Belcher and, of course, Mike McLaughlin. The third item that Jorge brought up was a $42,350 charge for irrigation repairs and drainage repairs and mulch. These are mainly in the landscaping spaces where there are sprinklers being run. Unfortunately, most of those sprinklers are being run to simply water turf grass. Another part of that fee was the tree removal. They have still been working on removing the dead trees after Winter Storm Uri. I believe at this point almost all of them have been removed, and this is a great reminder of why it's so important that we plant native species and not non-native invasives. The native species are much more resilient and capable of handling our climate, whereas non-natives are not well adapted and fall victim to the climate when it is not as tolerable. Fourth item was the tax interest for the insurance claims to Farmers Insurance. There were quite a few claims that came out of Winter Storm Uri, and so that's just shoring up those expenses there. The fifth item that he mentioned was they moved $54.8 thousand cash into our reserve fund. The reserve fund is a fund that the HOA performs periodically, where a third party will come in, take a look at all the assets, and do up a budget on what it would cost to replace all those assets. So in the event that, say, the pool needs to be completely replaced, the HOA will have funds to fund that if it were ever to happen. Something that's kind of been disappointing is that we've saved those funds for things that are easily replaceable, i.e. the fences, instead of investing it in things that are not easily replaceable, that take time to grow and to become something that is useful to the neighborhood. That wraps it for the Treasurer's Report. 5, the President's Report. Mike talked about the amenity center that's being built. He also had mentioned that the health inspector for the city came out to the HOA pool and shut it down. It seems as if the HOA has been manually doing the chemical applications to the water as they are waiting for parts to come in to have a machine that does it automatically. There was a severe imbalance, and the health inspector shut it down and made everyone leave. This is one of those things where the HOA seemed to be between a rock and a hard place, where they didn't want to keep waiting for the parts to come out, so they decided to try and do this on their own or hire somebody as a third party to do it. Unfortunately, that failed. At this time, however, they have resolved the chemical imbalances and have been working to try and get the health inspector out, if not already had them out, and have reopened the pool. Mike went on to mention the 4th of July march. This was something that hadn't happened in a couple years and is back on. There is a bunch of hot dogs and chips and I believe Gatorade and stuff of that nature that is purchased by the HOA and brought out for homeowners who want to come out and participate. There was a request to have military vehicles at this parade. I guess some Jeeps were supposed to be there. However, they went to the long location and then found their way back towards the end. So the kids got to see military equipment as well as do their parade in their small little cars and the floats that they made. There's also a prize that's given out to the best bike or float or car, whatever it is that the kids dress up and drive around during that parade. 6, the community manager report. This is Raquel Prado. She is our Goodwin community manager, a full-time employee that the HOA hired. She is supposed to be stationed at the new amenity center. However, as talked about previously, that amenity center is still waiting for the right to occupancy. So for now, you will have to reach out to her via email and phone. It's always best to leave a voicemail with what it is that you're going through, so that way she can do her research and then respond back to you. In regards to her report, there was painting and replacing that happened at the gym, the, if you will, old amenity center where the pool is located. There was some water damage and other items that needed to be replaced. And according to her, that's all been done. There is also an additional refund coming back to the HOA as the contractors didn't use all the material. So that is some good news there. We'll be getting some money back on that front. In the mulch mentioned in the treasurer's report is still being installed at the amenity center. However, by the time of this airing, it probably is already done. 7, the committee reports. Neighborhood representatives, Gary Belcher. Neighborhood reps, I mentioned this in a previous video. Neighborhood reps are just volunteers in the neighborhood who reach out to Gary and give their insight and input into what's going on in the neighborhood. And if you're interested in being a neighborhood rep, simply message me, and I'll make sure that we'll get your information over to Gary and the board, so that way you can become a participant in this process. The neighborhood reps did mention that the pool closure that Mike mentioned in his president's report caused some waves, of course, some ruffled feathers there. Everybody's wanting to go to the pool. The neighborhood reps also now have renters in their crosshairs. They are interested in knowing who is renting out rooms, who is doing Airbnb. They are wondering if Goodwin has a database that would show them who is doing rentals and who is not. Of course, at this time, Goodwin does not have that. However, if you are doing Airbnb, you are supposed to be registered with the city and pay to have that certification or licensing. I'm not entirely sure on the details. However, for short-term rentals out of your rooms, that is something that you don't have to register with the city, as they are month-to-month leases, and normally those are more of a long-term situation. However, always check with the local ordinances to see what it is you need to do to comply. So if you're looking for a more renter-friendly board, consider that Mike and David and Gary are not necessarily the greatest picks if you would like to keep renting out rooms or your house in this neighborhood. All right, the fence committee, Martin wasn't there. They're still moving forward with their phases of spending our reserve money on power washing and staining fencing. C, the architectural change committee, that is now run by Raquel, because the president, Mike McLaughlin, and VP David Alley were kicked off it due to the state recognizing the dual power that many HOA board members were participating in when they were sitting on an ACC board as well as the HOA board. Raquel mentioned that there were 4 requests in review, mainly just for roof replacements. She also mentioned that the ACC presentation for the new committee members that's completed. There was 3 out of 4 that showed up or agreed to join, and the fourth one declined. With that being said, they will be ready to start with their latest picked ACC board members on the 1st. D, the amenity center expansion. The term letter that was mentioned in the previous video was sent to the attorney. That has been delayed because the attorney didn't feel comfortable with the information that Place, our arbiter or designer, if you will, in this process provided to her. So she is waiting for additional information to come from Place before moving forward with that term letter to the contractor. There is an update on the bike rack that was supposed to be installed with the new amenity center. According to Mike, that bike rack is sitting in the amenity center waiting to be installed. Unfortunately, he did not provide any details on what type of bike rack it is. I know I've sent multiple examples to him and David on the board as far as what is needed for a good bike rack that our homeowners can use that doesn't damage their bikes, as well as protect them from the sun, heat, and rain. Another questionable piece from Cooper, the contractor slash builder. They were stating that the city of Austin gave them an exception to do the 5-foot sidewalks. However, due to the importance of micromobility, that is bikes, walking, running, anything that doesn't require a large 4,000-pound vehicle to get somewhere is considered micromobility, and is part of the city's initiative to enhance neighborhoods and increase walkability. So it seems that it may not be the case that they did get that exception. So Mike is waiting for the proof on that from them. E, communications. There was nothing to speak on there. I kind of covered that in a previous video. We move on here to 8, old business. A, the lights for Meadowview and Lakeview North and South by Auto Air. Those were installed the second week of July, so hopefully that will be done. Raquel is checking to verify that they're installed correctly and good to go. B, they are still working on the tennis locks. It seems that they can't use any of the old equipment or are not going to. They need to use all new equipment. However, that creates the need for an internet or IoT internet of things, internet-connected device, and they're waiting on a proposal from Spectrum to have that completed before they can move forward with the tennis court lock. E, the Sterling Bridge fencing repairs. Those are 8 to 12 weeks out to be completed. They're going to start working on those repairs the beginning of August. F, revisit enhanced yard sale signs for the garage sale. Raquel brought up a picture of the new signs that they are going to use. The board all looked at it, and it looked to be good to go. They talked about some of the wording on it. However, it was decided that what was presented is the best. That is going to be ordered and hopefully here by the 17th of September before the next HOA garage sale happens. G, the amenity center rentals. They're still working with the attorney for the best contracts as far as liability for the HOA and the best method for our homeowners to rent out that space for their own private events. H, the Samsung project. This is, again, something I talked about in previous videos. Samsung has spilled nearly 1 million gallons of toxic waste into our waterways, and they are attempting to garner some goodwill via PR with some cleanup projects, and they are supposed to be giving a walkthrough to Gary Belcher and Raquel on what it is that they've done, and those two are supposed to report back to the board. However, at this time, there was no update or any information on that. I, the movie nights at the pool, schedules for July 23rd and August 27th. July 23rd, that one was canceled because no one was going to be in town. Plus, they were still working with the city health inspector in regards to the chemical imbalance in the pool. And they also still need to look into whether or not they're going to run a dedicated line of electricity out for a projector. J, streetlight repairs. That project's come to completion. K, social media. This is, again, something I talked about in the previous video. However, they're going to start working on, that would be David and Vanessa, the VP and newest board member on the HOA, going to be working to create a external website for those interested in the neighborhood, as well as a website for those in the neighborhood to interact with updates and items of that nature, sort of like a town square. 9, we hit new business, newsletter articles in Word to Mike by August 8th. This is a newsletter that goes out to the neighborhood once a month, I believe. You can sign up for it digitally. There is a link in the description below and instructions on how to do that. Also, if you have any articles you would like to be aired in it, simply type them up in a Word document and send it to Mike so that way he can get it to the publisher and they can get it added to the newsletter. B, the replacement plan for the lacebark elms. This is something that is very important. I think all of us should keep an eye on to see how Mike handles this. It is so important that we replace the many trees that we lost. Mind you, a lot of those trees were 30 to 40-foot trees, so they were providing a ton of shade on the sidewalks for our homeowners when they're out walking. I know I see a lot of you out there walking when I'm out. And it is very important that every one of the trees that was removed is replaced with another tree. This is something that the folks on the board who don't appreciate the value that these things give to our properties, as well as to us, people who live here, they will look at the cost of running irrigation or simply installing water. They're called gator bags, these bags that go on the tree that you fill with water, as a prohibitive cost. However, they're more than willing to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars on power washing and staining fences, things that don't provide anything other than an aesthetic on a dead piece of wood. Alrighty, and that wraps it for the July Harris Branch Residential HOA meeting. If you enjoy these videos, simply hit subscribe, like, comment in the section below to let me know if there's anything particular you would like covered, or if there's any feedback, be it audio, lighting, anything of that nature. I'm always open to making this experience more enjoyable and more insightful to you. And with that being said, y'all be safe out there. Take care now. Bye.